lest the wheels of our chariot of rights and duty fall off, I'd like to introduce our first speaker. It is helpful to have something of a sense of humor when considering economic policies. Otherwise, the study of these policies and their often painful, unintended consequences can get too depressing, or you can get too angry. Isn't that true? Save your anger until you are in the voting booth. In the meantime, enjoy the process of getting more understanding of the issues and institutions that affect your life and the future of our country. Thinking beyond stage one, please welcome Jack Puhier.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, several years ago, a Harvard professor addressed a black undergraduate with the question of how to solve the problem in the black community. The student stood up and eagerly and enthusiastically laid out a policy that would solve all the problems. He finished. The professor said, "What then?" The student was hesitated and then continued. And he realized that his solution had created a few more economic problems. "What then?" the professor asked. He continued, and he became aware that some of the solutions, some of his policy, would not give the desirable results that he had envisioned in the first stage. The professor persisted. "What then?" At that point, it was obvious to everyone in the class, including the speaker, that some of the aspects of his policy would be disastrous. Thomas Sowell learned his lesson well. He learned not to conjecture with the first solution. Thomas Sowell is now a fellow at the Hoover Institute at Stanford University. He has taught and written on social issues and intellectual controversies. He has written several books. Among them is Knowledge and Decisions, Race and Culture, The Vision of the Anointed, Basic Economics. The Harvard story is the first chapter of his book, Applied Economics. He follows this with a story about the effects of taxes. John Marshall, the Supreme Court justice back in the early 1800s, said that taxation was the power to destroy. Thomas Sowell has us envision a community, a city, a prosperous city, with some successful corporations in it. The politicians discern that the voting public wants a certain project done, but they don't have the money. So of course, what do? They raise taxes on the corporations. That's the obvious thing to do. That's stage one. What happens in stage one? Well, everybody knows, or all economists know, that the failure rate of small businesses is pretty high. Most of them go out of business in the second or third year. Well, the raise of taxes, some of them, it's an additional burden, so a few more of them go out of business. New businesses that are starting to, people who are contemplating starting a new business, say, I don't want to go to that city, I'll go to someplace else. So immediately in stage one, the tax base of the city is starting to erode. In stage two, as taxes continue to go on and we keep having another election and politicians get reelected, in stage two, the corporations start thinking, let's move our headquarters to another city where it won't be as burdensome. And then in stage three, I think, why don't we just move our operations to another city or perhaps overseas? We could do that. The unfortunate part of all this, that as the tax base goes down, as the tax revenue goes down, even though the tax rate is higher than it was originally, the city starts to deteriorate. I mean, think of Detroit, the auto capital of the world. Or think of Seattle, Boeing, moving to Chicago, Boeing, moving to North Carolina. Think of Wenatchee, if something happens to the Apple industry. Taxation is the power to destroy. The sad part is that by the time everything starts to crumble, the politicians have moved on to state or national level. And if there's still some politicians remaining, they blame it on unemployment, low tax revenue. They've got a jillion things that they pay for. So the people responsible who don't think beyond stage one are still in effect. And unless we begin thinking beyond stage one, it'll be like A.K. Hayek said, that we shall not grow wiser before we learn that much that we have done was very foolish. Mr. Toastmaster.